On today's episode of Video Marketing Madness, we're going to talk about audio and music for your videos. And today's episode is made possible by the stock PLR Music Fire Sale. That's right, the stock PLR Music Fire Sale, which, Steve, I believe you purchased yourself as well.
I did. I just downloaded it yesterday.
It's a great set of 1,500, that's right, 1,500 stock music assets. And on top of the 1,500 assets, you also get the rights to turn around and sell the different audio tracks. So if you want to start a business selling audio tracks, well, now you can do it if you pick up the stock PLR Audio Fire Sale. I keep saying music. I think it's Audio Fire Sale. Boy,
Audio
that's a
Fire
long name
Sale
to remember. But it doesn't matter because all you have to do is head on over to raisebonuses.com/music fire sale. Music fire sale.
Music.
When you do that, you'll be able to pick it up right away and start listening to some great tracks, adding them to your videos, and of course turning around and selling them. So with that, should we hit the music, Steve?
Play that funky music, a white boy.
Alrighty, well here we go.
Biggie. He's Ray, the video guy. Yeah, Ray, the video guy. His skill is where it's at. Even if he's a little fat, he's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need, you know. He stays sharp like a crease in his pants. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing super sick. He's Ray, the video guy, yeah. Ray, the video guy, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the radio show about video marketing madness with Ray the Video Guy, and I'm Steve Sleeper. Some of the most popular platforms to listen, watch are Facebook, Earn.show, Stitcher, we're on Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. If you are so inclined, please give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
That's right, Apple Podcasts. We used to say iTunes, but now we say Apple Podcasts, which
Oh well,
just to confuse everybody, right?
It's in iTunes. I don't know.
So, Steve, it's been what seems like weeks.
Yeah,
well, it doesn't seem like weeks. It has been weeks since we've done a show here, and boy, I'll tell you, we are the only show, the only podcast in America that is cursed.
Yeah. Oh. Jeez.
So now it started off. I was actually away for a week, so that was a legitimate.
And I was away.
Show, and then Steve was away, and then we had a few weird incidents that, last week, for instance, about an hour before the podcast was set to go live, I heard a pounding on my door. I mean, like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, uh-oh, the police are finally here. They're coming to take me away.
Yep.
No, it was actually the electric company. And they said, hey, we've got an emergency order. We've got to pull out the transformer out here and shut off your power. And so right before we'd missed a couple of weeks in a row, and we were just about to go live in an hour, and they shut off the power, and the power was gone for a full day. The week before that, we actually had a computer issue where my computer was really acting up and wouldn't let us get on and do anything. So that's 2 weeks in a row we had some massive weird issues that didn't allow us to do the program. Crazy, right?
Great, wild, wacky stuff.
That's right. And then before that, I was away, and so we didn't do it that week. But we're back, so for those of you who thought we were dead and gone, well,
No.
Sorry, we are here to punish your ear holes once again. So, Steve, what's happened in these last couple of weeks? Anything exciting going on?
Yeah, well, I lead a boring life, but I've been doing a lot of podcasting, and that's been a lot of fun. And that's you've gone to Belize. I went to LaSalle, Illinois.
Nice. That's a fair trade-off.
How'd you like Belize?
It was very nice, and some of you may have seen my live videos from Belize, showing off some of the ocean views and whatnot. It was a little rainy that day, but it got better, so it was pretty good. We had a good time. We had a lot of fun.
Got to meet your daughter on those live videos. She was
that's right. Yep.
Photo bombing. So
that's right. Yep. First time I think I've ever had any of my family in any of my live videos. So there you go.
Well, that's what kids do when they get to be that age. So
yes,
they photobomb.
So Steve used to jump in on his parents' live videos back in on Facebook back in the day. So.
Yeah, back in the late 50s.
Yep.
So using music and audio in your videos, this is timely. And of course, the stock PLR audio fire sale. I bought that. Took 10 minutes to download, which wasn't too bad. But
really, that's actually not too bad. I thought it would take a lot longer than that. I mean,
maybe
it
it was
is audio
15.
files, so they're not as big as video files. But the whole point behind that, and of course, the fact that came out is one of the inspirations that I had to do one on music and audio. And the reason for that is because, there's a lot of misconceptions about audio on video. There's a lot of confusion about it. And so I thought it was a great topic to really talk about today because obviously most people like to put music into their videos in different ways. Yeah. And there's a lot of different things like legalities that you have to deal with. Just going out and grabbing your favorite Justin Bieber song, putting it into a video is probably not going to work out well for you in many ways. YouTube doesn't appreciate that. The artists don't usually appreciate that. But believe it or not, that's not always the case. And I don't want to confuse things. As a general rule of thumb, don't use your favorite top 40 musician and their music on there. It's probably not going to turn out well for you. If you do, you could get the video removed. In lesser cases, they may shut the audio off in certain countries. So in the United States, there's audio. In Germany, there's no audio at all, that kind of a thing, depending upon the different copyright laws from different areas.
But if it's copyrighted, sometimes even if you get permission, it's a problem.
It can be because you have to prove it.
Yeah, and a local musician here, Chip Davis, Mannheim Steamroller. He's released all kinds of Christmas albums, and
I love that you refer to him as local musician. Guy who's
everybody
probably
knows who
sold.
He is.
He's probably in the top 10 of musicians that have sold albums of all time at this point in time.
Local resident,
yes.
Local resident, but nice guy, great guy, and I've known him for up to a million years. He always said, if you want to use a track for something, go ahead. I don't care. It's fine. Got pulled down. You know, and I was telling him about it. He says, well, you should have told me. I would have done this. And I said, you know what? It was just easier to redo the video.
And it's done automatically, especially on YouTube. What happens is YouTube actually scans your videos, and if there's music in there, and if they recognize it, they cut it out. Now, that also depends upon a few different factors as well, because there are some artists who have told YouTube, no, don't do that. And what may happen is when you use one of their songs, well, underneath your video, they'll have a banner that sells their music. Mm-hmm. And, so that way they're actually making money by doing that. So there are artists who have done that, and there are lists out there that show you who it is. For me personally, just stay away from it most of the time. You're going to be better off. But there are artists that actually do allow that. There are some who just openly allow it. They allow, and there's lists out there that'll tell you, this artist does and this artist does. So there are possibilities for doing that, but it can be a little fishy. It can be a little difficult to make sure that you're doing it properly and that people are actually not going to turn around and sue you or anything else. And to be honest with you, you don't really see many lawsuits going on for that kind of a thing. It's mostly either they pull the video, they mute the video, or they sell the track underneath, depending upon what the artist wants when those things happen. Now
you gotta have money for somebody to sue you. So.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I mean, there's a lot of how are you going to sue a 7-year-old who made a video with Eminem playing in the background? It doesn't make any sense. Right. But there was a lawsuit recently that actually should be brought up. That's part of this, and it had to do with, it was a very short video of a little child dancing, I believe, and it was a video of a little child. I believe they were dancing, and in the background for just a few seconds, not even purposely put in the video, but just kind of in the background, was some commercial music. Mm-hmm. Well, I believe I don't know if it was YouTube or the artist, I believe it was the artist, forced YouTube to take it down, and, there was all this brouhaha. Well, there was a lawsuit filed. Yep. And believe it or not, the people that made the video actually won, and the judge said, look, this wasn't a commercial video, it wasn't even intentional. And the problem with this particular argument was the result from it was a little bit vague. So was it did the judge fine for the creator of the video because it was only a few seconds? Did they fine for them because it was just in the background? Did they fine for them because it wasn't commercially making money? That's where it gets vague. It kind of just seemed like it was, hey, there's no need to take this down. And they made YouTube put the video back up. So, and I don't think YouTube was the one. YouTube was the one who was really sued, I believe, in this particular case. But I believe it was the artist that actually forced YouTube to go out and do that. And so that's what happened there. Because there's fair use, different things. For instance, if you were to have a video show that you did where you reviewed music and you played a clip of music, that's called fair use. They can't really, they can, and they probably will anyway. But in theory, you should be able to get away with that because you're actually reviewing the music and things like that. So if you're just playing the music, that's a different story. But if you're reviewing it, if you're using it for critiquing, things like that, that is a different story. There's fair use involved in that, news stories, things of that nature. But for the most part, why even bother dealing with all this? It's just not worth it most of the time. So what you want to do is you want to use what's called royalty-free music. Now, what royalty-free music is, it's just a type of license for music that's created where they allow you to use that music without having to pay what's called a royalty. Now, for instance, let's say that, I had a friend who, he was doing videos, and one of the things in the videos was called the Dogs of War. And so they licensed the song Dogs of War, and they actually had to pay a royalty. Now, it wasn't a very big royalty. In fact, they were very kind about it. I think it was only like pennies per copy or something. It was, very little. But they had to go out and they had to pay for every copy that was sold and things like that. But if you're using royalty-free music, you don't have to do that. You may have to buy out the music, which is you're buying a license to be able to use it, but you don't have to credit the people. You don't have to pay them every time you put it out into a project and things like that. And there are some rules depending upon where you purchase it from. Different places will have different rules about how their music works. But royalty-free music, definitely the way you want to go to be able to make sure that you're not going to get in trouble. Now, a little caveat with that, that's not always 100% the case, because sometimes when you use royalty-free music, YouTube will still hear it and say, oh, this is copyrighted, because contrary to popular belief, royalty-free music can still be copyrighted because it is still a copyrighted property, but they're giving you licenses. And so if YouTube knows that that's copyrighted, they hear that song, they will shut your video off as well, and you just have to provide them with a slip of paper showing, hey, I purchased the rights to use this, and then they should fix it for you, and it shouldn't be a big deal. But they can, on occasion, shut you down even for using royalty-free music. So you definitely want to keep your license handy just in case. On top of that, there are some people that do things they're not supposed to with royalty-free music. And we've run into this before, where a music artist purchased a royalty-free track, used that as a backing track for music that he then created. So while he was singing and playing his guitar, the backbeat was from this royalty-free music. He copyrighted his song, people used the royalty-free music, and all of a sudden YouTube was shutting him down because this guy had copyrighted his song with that royalty-free music in it, which, by the way, you're not supposed to do. So the musician was actually wrong for doing that, but it still got people shut down for different things. So again, always keep your license around so you can provide it if YouTube asks about it. But for the most part, it's usually not a big deal. It usually works out pretty easily for you. So question is, where are we going to get all of our royalty-free music? And there actually are quite a few places that you can do this. And the one that we like to use most of the time is a site called Audio Jungle. Now, if you're not familiar with Audio Jungle, what this essentially is a place that lists a whole bunch of different music, so you can pick the genre of the music, and you can pick the track that you want, purchase it, and your average purchase is probably going to be from $9 to $18, with the average being $12 to $14. So most of them are going to be $12 to $14 to be able to use that. Again, just like I said before, there's a lot of different licenses that, or different rules for different places that you really want to pay attention to. And, for instance, in Audio Jungle, you're supposed to pay for it every time you use it in a new project. So in other words, if you purchase it, you use it in a project with one of your clients, then later on another client wants to use it in a totally different project, you're supposed to pay them once again for using it that second time. Now, some people would say, well, wait a minute, isn't that kind of like using a royalty? Well, not really, because you're not paying per copy, but you're paying per project. So you're basically paying for the use of that audio in there to make sure that you have the rights to use it properly without any issues. So another place that you can go to make sure that you get royalty-free music that's not going to get you in trouble, Premium Beats. That's another one that they're a little bit more expensive. They've got a lot of tracks, thousands of them in there that you can look up. So you can find anything that you need in there. Another one is Audio Blocks at audioblocks.com. Now this one's a little bit different. This one you actually pay a fee to be part of it, and then you get access to the music that's on there. So I believe it's like $99 a year typically, and you get access to all the different music that's in there, and you can use it without any issues. Places like Shutterstock. Shutterstock actually has music on it. So if you've ever been there to buy images or videos, they also have music that you can pull out of there as well. And, but personally, like I said, my personal favorite, Audio Jungle. That's where I go for most of mine. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about music and how to use the music when you are going out and putting it into your videos. And there's my dogs making a little music in the background for us. They love to chime in right about now. So when you're choosing music for your video, you want to be able to use music that makes sense for your video. So you want to use things like the number of beats, the style of the music, maybe even the instruments that are in the piece of music to make sure that it fits what you're doing. So for instance, let's say you're making a video for a flower shop. A heavy metal track is probably not going to be appropriate. It's not going to make sense. So you're going to want to use something that's a little bit slower, has slower beats, maybe has, more woodwind type instruments or guitar or piano, things like that. So you really want to focus on making sure that the tone of the music matches what you're doing in the video. And believe me when I tell you, when you go to a place like Audio Jungle, they're going to help you to find the right piece of music because you can look it up by themes. So, for instance, if you were making, a trailer for a horror movie, you can go in there and type in the word horror, and you're going to find all these different tracks that have horror-sounding, themes to them, and it's going to be perfect. Not perfect for the flower shop, but perfect for the horror movie-themed trailer that you're creating. But the same goes for the flower shop. You could put in things like flowers. I know it sounds weird, what music matches flowers, but if you type that in, you're probably going to find nice, soft, slower music that makes sense for something like that. Putting in plumber, probably not going to be the same type of deal. Maybe something will show up. But chances are what you want to do is you want to start searching for, different types of themes, maybe even different types of beats. So if you want a fast beaten song, you can go for that. If you want a slow beat song, you can go for that. But you can search for classical. You can search for hip-hop. There's just a ton of different things you can do to make sure that you get the perfect music in there. Now, one thing that people run into all the time is, well, okay, I've got music, but it's way too long or it's way too short. What do I do in that situation? My video is 2 minutes long. This song is 4 minutes long. Now, this is where it gets a little more complex, and you definitely, one thing you can do is you could literally end the song at the end of your video and just do a fade out. In many situations, this is going to be perfectly fine. However, in some situations, it's still going to sound a bit abrupt. So there are ways around this. And one of the things that I like to do is to actually go somewhere into the middle of the audio track, cut the audio track, and then I'll actually go back and I'll listen to the music and I'll actually time it out. So as the music's playing, for those of you that are more musically inclined, you'll understand what I mean. If not, you'll have to kind of understand this a little bit. Every song has a certain number of beats that they use. So for instance, it may be a 3 beat or it may be a 4 beat. So in other words, as you're going through the music, you can hear that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so what I like to do is I like to actually listen to the track, get down what the beat is. Is it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4? And then somewhere along the middle, I'll actually cut the song right on a fourth beat. So it finishes that part of the music. Dun, 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 dun. And then cut right there. And then what I'll do is I'll scale that music back to the end of the song, bring the end of the song to the end of my video, bring that, cut that track back so that you've got the beginning, it cuts, and then you've got the rest all the way through to the end. And then I'll go to the second half and I'll try to make sure that I cut it on a one beat. So as you're doing that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you find the one, you butt them together, and now chances are that song is going to flow fairly well. Now, in a longer song, you may want to be careful with this because they may change, the style of music. So it's still going to be very abrupt. If at the beginning, they start off slow and then they start moving real fast, well, you're going to have that weird cut. So you need to play it by ear, pardon the pun, because that's, But you definitely will want to kind of listen to that and see if that works. But for the most part, with royalty-free music, they tend to be just a steady song all the way across. They don't tend to change how many beats. They don't tend to change instruments. They don't tend to it tends to be a very repetitive song throughout, which allows you to cut that in most cases. And so it's very easy to be able to find those beats, cut on the beats, and bring it down to fit your video. Now, it may not fit perfectly, so you may have, once you do that, you may have a little bit of extra. So you may still have to fade out at the very end a little bit, or it may be a little short, which is fine. If it's a little bit short, it still kind of comes to an end at the end of the video. And you can even cut the video a little bit to match the length of the song at that point too. But the point being is that if you have a song that's too long, that's your opportunity to be able to cut it down. Now, on the opposite side of this, many royalty-free tracks might only be a minute long. And if your video is 1 minute and 10 seconds or 2 minutes long, 2 minutes might be a little long to do that. You may just want to find a different track. But if your video is 1.5 minutes, 1 minute and 20 seconds, you may need to do the exact opposite. And so what you want to do is go into the song, again, listen to those beats. You're going to cut the music, okay? You're going to take a middle section of that and go all the way through and listen to it and see if there's a section where it kind of goes through and changes. Then you're going to cut that and you're going to repeat that section. So you're going to have the beginning, you're going to cut it, you're going to listen to the next section, find where it ends on a beat, repeat that, and then put the end on it again as well. And so now you'll have the beginning, the middle again, and the end. And if it's done right, it's mostly unnoticeable. If it is a little bit noticeable, you may need to put a fade in there, some sort of a crossfade to kind of blend that together. But if you've got a video where somebody's talking on the top of it and you do that with your music, nobody's ever going to know the difference. It's just not going to be, because the music's going to be down a little bit lower than the person speaking, and it should work really well. You should be able to get through that without people noticing. So that's how you edit your music to make sure that you've got it perfectly in there to fit your video. Now, there are tools out there that actually will do that for you. So, and I don't recall the name of the one that I used to use. I used to have one. It was SmartSound, I believe. And I believe they're still around, SmartSound. And what they do is you actually take your song and you put in the length of your video, and it adjusts the song for you to fit that. So they purposely compose music that allows them to be able to repeat things and stretch the music out. So you can literally say, my video is 1 minute 10. It'll make an audio track that's 1 minute 10 for you. So that's one thing you can look up, SmartSound, that can help you do that. But for the most part, you can do it yourself. Right inside of most video editing programs, you can do this. You could also do this with a tool called Audacity, which is completely free. And that's for Mac and PC, so anybody can use that, and you can do the same thing there and edit your audio down. I like to do it right in the video editor because I've got everything right there, but you can do it either way, and it'll work perfectly fine for you. Now, before we end today's episode on music and audio, I want to talk a little bit about traditional audio. So that's like your voiceovers and any other type of audio that you might use. So when you're making your video, one thing that people may tell you, and you've probably heard this before, audio is more important than the video. And what we mean by that is when you're creating a video, people will forgive if the video is not great as long as they can hear what's going on and understand what's happening. If your video looks great, but the audio is terrible and people can't understand you, they're going to turn it off. So you want to make sure that your audio is as good as possible, as clear as possible, to make sure that people understand it and they'll stick with your video. So the way you do that is to make sure that you're using a decent microphone. Now, for instance, in the case of our show here, you can see my microphone here. This is actually a radio microphone, so you'll actually see this one in radio studios. It's called an RE20, and it's a very good microphone. And it's a little bit more expensive, but it works very well. Like I said, it's used in radio stations, and it's a bit overkill, to be honest with you. For the most part, you don't need something this nice to be able to do this, but we do a lot of audio podcasting, and so it makes sense for me. Steve, jump on in here.
Yeah, I use this Audio Technica. I forget the model number. I'm trying to see if I can find it, but it's a $100 mic. You can find it on B&H. Just search Audio Technica professional microphone and look for the $100 mic, and it sounds great, and it's a real popular podcasting microphone. There's a fellow out there named Dave Jackson. He's got a program called Ask the Podcast Coach on Saturday mornings, and he sells this microphone. He recommends it. So anyhow,
yep.
Yeah.
And Heil makes one that's very good as well.
Heil.
Again, a little on the more expensive side of that. On the less expensive side, but very good, would be the Blue Snowball, the Blue Yeti are also very good microphones. I actually use the Yeti is one that we use all the time on one of our other shows. That's the microphone that's actually used. You can actually see it in the video in the background there that we use for picking up the audio there. So that's another great one. Now, these microphones are mostly for doing what we're doing now, which is we're talking into a microphone for a podcast style situation. When you get into video production where you're not sitting directly in front of a microphone at a desk, well, you need to make sure that you've got good audio there too. That requires something a little bit different. You're probably going to want to get some sort of a lavalier microphone. For instance, I've got one right here next to me, and for those of you watching, you can see right here, just a little lapel microphone. And that one there actually is one that is compatible with both traditional video cameras and with your smartphone. So you can actually plug it into your smartphone and use the lavalier microphone for recording video. Another one that you could pick up is a shotgun microphone. This is the one that you see typically when people are doing television shows, showing a TV show where they're showing somebody making a TV show, and you'll see the guy standing there with the big pole. He's got the boom pole and the microphone pointing down, the big long microphone. That's a shotgun microphone, and those work very, very well. Very good audio from those. What you're basically doing is you're putting that up above you, pointing it at you, but keeping it out of the screenshot. So it's actually a little bit further away, but it picks up from that distance, and hence why it's a shotgun. It kind of shoots out. I always said they should call it a rifle microphone instead of a shotgun, but you get the idea, because it's meant to be picking up directly in front of it, more like a rifle than a shotgun. But it's called a shotgun microphone. Very good to use. A lot of times when I shoot in front of the green screen, I actually have a boom that I put up, and I've got a shotgun microphone that I'll use for doing that, because it is a really nice, rich sound. But the point is, you want to make sure that you're using a decent microphone for any video that you're using, that you're creating, whether it's in front of a green screen, sitting at a desk, or if you're just following somebody around on the streets. You want to make sure you've got a good microphone. A handheld microphone will work perfectly fine for walking around on the streets. You can even get some of the headset microphones that will do a very good job. But the point being is, if you're going to record a video, you just don't want to use the built-in camera microphone from 5 or 10 feet away. It's just not going to do well for you. If you're shooting yourself on one of those and you're really close to the microphone, it can actually work pretty well. But for the most part, those are not very good, not ones that you want to start using. And one of the reasons for that is they're what you call omnidirectional. At least some of the lower end cameras are omnidirectional, and what that means is that when you're sitting there in front of that camera and you got that little microphone there and you're a couple feet away, it's not picking up just you. It's picking up everything in every direction. So it's picking up noise from behind, from the sides, from above, from down below, all these different locations. You're going to be starting to pick up all of the sounds from around you. So you definitely want to use something that's not going to do that. And the lapel mic is a cheap way to do it very, very well. You can pick up most, a halfway decent lapel mic from Audio-Technica for probably about $40 these days. So it's not a very expensive investment, and you can get them with nice long cords. Personally, I like using the ones with the nice long cords versus the wireless. However, wireless will also work. Wireless is more expensive. And you want to make sure, if you're going to go with wireless, that you go with a UHF. Now, they make two different kinds, VHF and UHF, which is kind of like, for those of you old enough, that's kind of like television. We had UHF and VHF stations, but with this, it's just different frequencies. And you want the ultra-high frequency UHF. And the reason for that is because that is going to have less interference. If you use a VHF, they're going to be less expensive to purchase, but they're much more likely to pick up, CB radios going by, the police scanners, and, whatever
cell
happens.
phones.
Yes, cell phones. I mean, there's cordless phones. If people have cordless phones in their house, they're notorious for picking those up. And, we had a VHF one time, and we were, we just had it for simple recordings, and we were sitting there one day, and we had whole entire CB conversations coming through. Just because it picks up so many different things, and we could just pick up everything. So you definitely want to go with UHF if you're going to go wireless, but you definitely want to use some kind of microphone in order to do video production. So there you go. That's all I got to say about that.
Cool stuff. Now, we haven't done a show in a while, so you remember you always do a Mindset Matters.
Well, we could certainly do a Mindset Matters.
Okay, all right.
So let me hit that music here if I can find it.
All right.
It's been so long. Holy cow, here we go. Oh, we got the pause here.
And now, Mindset Matters.
Wow, that took a long time to do there. So
Yeah, it did. It did.
All right, so for today's Mindset Matters, we talked a little while back about a product. Actually, we talked about two different things. One, I talked about the Miracle Morning from Hal Elrod. And the Miracle Morning teaches you how to do a morning routine that's going to help you be more productive throughout the day. And one of the things that Hal talks about in there is journaling. And it's not just traditional journaling. It's journaling where you're actually giving thanks for the things you have, and you're setting up the things you want to do for the day. And at the time, I told you about a product called 5 Minute Journal, which is a very, very good program. You could get an actual physical book that you could write in, or you could use the app on your cell phone. Well, the problem is that particular app hasn't been updated in a long time. It crashes a lot. It had a lot of issues, and they weren't updating it at all. I'd even contacted them and said, "Hey, I love this app. I don't want to lose everything on it, but it's just not working." It would actually crash your whole phone every time you turned it on. And they said, "Well, we should be working on it someday." And I'm like, ah. And I looked around for a replacement for this, and unfortunately, there wasn't one. However, a few months later, there actually was one that popped up, and this one is actually just called Journal. And I don't know if it's for Android or not. It's definitely for iPhone, but if you look it up, Journal, it's actually the same thing as the 5 Minute Journal one. So if you actually look up 5 Minute Journal, this should show up as an alternate. Its icon is a big 5, but it's just called Journal. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to come in each and every day, and when you log into it every day, the first thing it does is it gives you a quote of the day. And you can actually, from there, share that quote to Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram and anywhere else. And that's one of the first things I do every single day is I post whatever that particular quote is for the day out to all of those different locations. And especially on Instagram, they're very popular. Get a lot of likes for doing that. But it's just something you read that and you learn it. Once you do that, it allows you to go in and it asks you, what 3 things are you thankful for today? And you put in the 3 things that you're thankful for. Then it asks you, what 3 things would make today great? And it tells you to start off with I will. So for instance, it's I will do XYZ to make sure that, we make enough income to buy beans for the day, whatever it happens to be. You put those 3 things in there. And then the last thing you put in there is it says, I am. And you want to put in, what you are. And for me, I like to be funny with that, so, on one particular day, I could be, I am the king of the world, or, I am, the greatest marketer on planet Earth, whatever it happens to be, you put your information in there. It doesn't take long. 5-minute journal, it literally takes 5 minutes, but it's a gratitude journal that allows you to give thanks for the things that you have and talk about the things you're going to do to make that day great. In the evening, it comes back and says, okay, what 3 things were you thankful for during the day today? You can put those in there, and then it'll say what 3 great things happened this day. And of course, you can follow up with what 3 things happened that day. So it's a very cool program. It keeps you motivated. It lets you have fun. It reminds you of what you're grateful for, and it just helps you with productivity and all around goodwill. So I love it. It's called Journal, but look up 5-minute journal, and it should show up as an alternative there. So check it out. It should help you with your day. So there we go.
Sounds good. And it's the radio show about video marketing madness with Ray the Video Guy, and I'm Steve Sleeper. Today's show made possible by a very timely product.
Yes, sir. It is made possible by let's see if we can get it right here, the Audio PLR Fire Sale. I always say that wrong. But in any case, regardless of how you say it, you can check it out at raisebonuses.com/music fire sale. It's 1,500 music tracks that you can use in your productions. There's all sorts of different tracks in there. And the best part is you actually get full PLR rights. Actually, they have a couple different options. You can buy personal rights. You can buy resale rights. You can buy PLR rights. PLR rights, the way you want to go. Once you have that, you can use the songs not only for all of your productions, but you can turn around and sell the music to others. You can create packs of music and sell the packs of music. You could go on Fiverr and sell music packs. And this is something that I've done in the past, and it worked very, very well. Just going on to Fiverr saying, 10 tracks for $5. And people will purchase those 10 tracks for $5, and then you can offer them, 100 more, whatever it happens to be, and you can actually make some pretty decent money doing that, even on a place like Fiverr. But of course, you can sell those tracks in any way that you'd like, and you'll have full rights to be able to do that. So check it out. Once again, raisebonuses.com/music fire sale. All one word.
And let's wrap it up with one of them jingles, Dare.
All right, here we go. We started with the rap, so let's go back to the original.
Neil Young.
He's Ray the Video Guy, yeah, Ray the Video Guy. His skill is where it's at, even if he's a little fat. He's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing so sick. He's Ray the Video Guy, yeah, Ray the Video Guy.